Hello everybody, my name is Tyler Jordan. Welcome back to another tutorial at Tiny House Media. Today we're looking over the Attract Object modifier that works with dynamics in Cinema 4D. This is going to be the final result. So we're using the Attractor Object to bring all these objects together and then finally blow them apart. They're just simple spheres and rings, so let's jump right into it. So we're just going to make a few objects. We'll make a sphere, keep it default. We're also going to make some toruses. Let's make the torus the 340. Keep that the same, keep that the same. And then the sphere, keep the same for now. Let's go ahead and make some cloner objects. Only one, we only need one for now. Let's zoom out. Actually, we're gonna change the scene and the rendering properties. So we'll go to project settings. We'll change it to 24 frames a second. We'll also go up here, go under output, change that to 24 frames a second. Let's make the whole comp large. When you're dealing with dynamics, you want the entire composition to be longer than you expected. That way you have like extra frames that you can always cut frames, but once, let's just quickly do this. We'll just put a simulation tag, a rigid body, and look at that. It's falling. It's fantastic. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I'll see you next time. No, I'm just kidding. So when you bake it, let's say I'll just say bake all. So now you can scrub up and down, but then you're like, wait a second, let's zoom out. I want the comp to be even longer. So then you would change it to 300. So let's bring this. But since it's baked, it'll go there and stop. So essentially, you want your comps to always be longer than you actually would. So I'm gonna clear all the caches here. Okay, so that's that. Let's put the torus in this cloner object right here. Let's change the torus to 5 count. We'll change this to radial. Go to transform. You want to change the Z value to 90. We'll go back to object. We'll change this to about 500. I think that's a little too low. 550. We'll take the same exact cloner object. We're going to duplicate it by holding that control. Drag it down. We're going to get rid of that torus, but we're going to put the sphere in there. Let's make this guy. We're going to just we're going to make a new cloner. We're going to name these inside ring extra spheres. Okay. I'm gonna drag this into here. So we're gonna change this to a grid array. 5, 5, 5. Let's go ahead and increase it by 600, 600, 600. Alright, so let's make a random effector by going to MoGraph, effector, random. A quicker way, of course, to find it is when you hit Shift C and you just type random. and there it is. But it's good to know where they are. Let's go ahead and attach it to the small spheres. So let's just drag it in there. Let's change the position to 270, 155, and 170, 165. Let's change the scale, make it uniform, uniform scale. Make it 0.5. Rotation, I don't think we need to do anything with rotation. No. I don't need to. Actually, yes, we do. Because we're going to attach it to these guys too. So let's put them like that. Let's change this rotation to like 90, 90. Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Let's just make these rings bigger. We're gonna change the radius. Something like that. Maybe bring down that rotation and the random. That way they're not penetrating each other. And let's increase these guys just to get them out. 700, 800, 800, 800. Okay, so now that nobody's touching anybody, we'll just move it down. Just because when we're going to add dynamics, we don't want them to explode. So let's go ahead and bring this down like this. I just don't want anybody to touch anyone. So since I increased the ring to 800, let's increase this to 800. That way they're staying in the center. Okay. I feel like this is going to interact. Okay. Okay, cool. So that's the initial setup. So let's just go ahead and play around with the attractor. So we're gonna go ahead and do our nifty Shift C and type attractor. There it is. I'm gonna keep it on top for now, just leave it. If we press play, nothing special is gonna happen. They're just gonna drop because we put the dynamic body tag on it. We're gonna also duplicate it and put it here. I'm gonna line them up like that. Now when we press it, they're just gonna explode because how dynamics treat objects is it's a solid. Even if it's open in the middle, it is telling the program that it's solid in the middle, so those are exploding. We don't want that, so we're just gonna go to collision and we're gonna make it a moving mesh. You can also use static mesh. And now, oh, so this guy is now penetrating. Alright, is anybody touching anything? Yes. I'm just gonna move them out. Okay, now none of them are touching each other, which is great. So let's just minimize all this again. Let's play around with the attractor tool. We'll go with 2,000. And we're going to change the attractor to 100,000. 100,000. So now everything is gravitating towards the center. Minus the guys that are falling to their inevitable doom, which is whatever. And you can actually move this around, which is pretty cool. You can create some pretty cool results by like making things follow this object, kind of like thinking particles. So it's pretty cool, right? It's not bad. So let's just go ahead and zero that out. Put it back in the center. Let's just increase the strength just to show you the absolute, like, look at that. Pretty cool, huh? There. It's pretty, it's like it's like planets orbiting around the sun. Pretty cool. So that's kind of the introduction of Attractor. So we're just gonna have to zero it all out. Let's change this back to 100,000. That was a million, right? Yes. And so we want things to get sucked up and then exploded at a certain point. So let's just go to 96. And we'll make a keyframe by holding on Control and then clicking that. And then let's go to a few frames out, probably like 100. And we're going to change it to a negative strength. Make a keyframe. So now it's going to suck things in and explode them back out. So let's go ahead and just bake it. So we'll take one of these. Once you bake one, it'll bake the others. I'll show you. So bake all. It's baking the dynamic simulation, and it baked everything. So everything's in, and then they explode. Kind of like that. So then one more thing that we're going to do is just add a camera. We're going to zero that camera out. I'm going to click here. We're going to bring that down. We're going to change the display to shading so we can see it. This will be the camera. So then let's go ahead and bring the camera down. Get rid of all of that, and we're just going to bring it back. So now let's kind of bring it forward a bit. 96. Gonna make a keyframe. When it explodes, we're gonna want the camera to just kind of pan back a bit, something like that. So then let's go ahead and quickly open up F curve. And here's the F curve. We're gonna just get rid of all of that. We don't need any of that. We're gonna make this linear by we're just gonna hold down Shift and Control, drag it over so it's linear, and we're just gonna drag this like, we're just gonna guess, so something like that, so some type of curve like this. I'm just gonna, let's say boom, boom. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit of an ease out. Yeah, okay, that works. So now that is it when it comes to perspective. That's it when it comes to animating this thing. So let's just make a light, and it goes just directly in the center. You can move it wherever you want. I ended up moving it a little bit like this in the back. It was very little. It was probably like 50 centimeters. Let's go ahead and bring this up. We're going to change it to an area light. We're going to change it to a volumetric right here. Visible light volumetric. Alright, so we're gonna change the visibility. We're gonna bring this up to probably 12. So let's just go ahead and preview it. Okay, so it's creating a little bit of volume effect. Let's go back to general, and let's just change the color a little bit. So let's just kind of make a blue tint. Yeah, something like that. Let's go ahead and also just maybe 2000. crank this inner 250. So now it's creating this volumetric effect, which is pretty cool, pretty neat. Okay, so then let's go to photometric. We're going to create that highlight. So let's just turn this on. I'm just going to change this to 2000. So now it has that bloom effect. Now let's create a material. We'll just kind of put it on all of these. Hold down Control to duplicate them all. So we're going to double click that the material. We're going to change this to black. We're going to go to reflectiveness. We're going to keep the default everything except we're going to change this to Beckman. Let's play around with these, make this like 10%, make the reflection strength 100%. So then 20, 10, that's fine. We're also going to change the Fresnel to this one. There you go. So that's basically what the final result will look like right here. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead and that's that. One last thing that we're going to do is add we're going to put the camera in a null. The middle of the comp is where it rotates, because we're going to put a vibrate tag on it. So right click, animation, vibrate. Nothing's going to happen right now, of course, but now if I change the rotation, it's going to do that. So it's going to look like this, and then when it explodes, it'll settle. So let's go ahead and just leave it. Let's go ahead and change this to 100, the position, 130. So just leave both of those default. Let's go ahead and go to around 70, 73. Make a keyframe for the amplitude for both. And then around 120, 125, we're going to make it 0. Zero it out, zero it out, boom, boom. We'll also go to frame 1 and zero it out, boom, boom. So now it starts fine, and then it ramps up, ramps up, ramps up, and then it eases. It's ramping, and then boom. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So it comes in, and then at 96 frames it explodes. And then eventually everything leaves off screen around 250. Okay, and then so what we're going to do is we're just going to save everything as PNGs with an alpha, and that's it. We don't need a multipass or anything for this tutorial. So I'm going to render this out. Okay, I'm going to render this out and we'll get back. We'll hop right into After Effects. Okay, here we are. First things first, import the file sequence. This is right here. We're gonna also change it from 30 frames a second, because by default PNG sequences come in at 30. We're gonna go to interpret footage main, change that to 24 frames a second. We're gonna make this a new comp, clicking and dragging down there. And here's what it looks like. Save it. I'm going to create a background, double clicking. I'm going to call this background black. It's going to be black. BG. Let's change this from quarter to full so it looks better. We're also going to change it to 16-bit. Looks like it already did that. How my machine is set up by default it's 16, but normally it should be 8. So we're going to change it to 16. That way the gradients look better. Let's just add a fade in and fade out. So let's just do this. We'll call it fade. Transition. Press T. Let's go with 10 frames. Fade out. We're just gonna put an ease to it so it fades in, and then same thing at the end. Probably gonna fade out for like almost a whole second. So then fades out, something like that. Let's add that explosion effect by creating a bloom. So let's go to here, exposure, put an exposure onto this, double click it. We're gonna also make it an adjustment layer. I'm just gonna keyframe exposure right here. So then in the beginning, it'll go default at 4 seconds. We're just gonna bring up the exposure to quite a bit, I think 6. A little bit later after that, so at like 4:10, we're also going to just make another keyframe, and then around 6, we're going to ease it out. So now it's building up, and then it goes away. So we're gonna leave that linear, leave this linear. So we're going to just ease out. We're gonna change this to 75, so it looks like this, and then we're also going to ease in. Let's go ahead and change this to 75 as well. So it eases in, and then eases out. So now the next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to put levels. Levels on top. We're gonna do the same thing. Make a keyframe. The beginning, we're just gonna leave that. So we're gonna change this to the black, the output black to around 6800. No, let's make it even 7000. But we're gonna put on this frame, and this frame we're just gonna leave it. So then it blooms out. And then it goes back in, copy paste. So kind of like that. We're gonna make these both 75 and 75, just like the keyframes above it. Let's go ahead and crank up the exposure some more. Let me crank up this as well. So then when it explodes, it kind of does this. So the next effect, so we're just gonna call that CC. The next effect that we're gonna put on to this object, we're gonna put it on, not as an adjustment layer, but we're gonna put it on the render itself. And that's called CC lens. This is the effect that it's gonna bring it down to like that black hole and then explode it back out. So we're gonna start at 500. It's a good default, I think. I'm gonna press U. We're gonna go around here. So then it'll come in around, I'm just gonna make a few keyframes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So let's go ahead and just ease this keyframe out. We don't have anything on it right now, which is fine. Make that 75. So it's going to go from 500 to about 15, 10, 5. So then it kind of comes down, and then it comes back up. We're We're gonna ease it in. So it kind of does this, and then we'll ease it out. Like that. So it kind of comes in. We're gonna start, possibly actually start it at 200. No. We're just gonna keyframe it here to go to 150, 100. So that goes. So come in. We're gonna make this pause a little longer. So it goes. Boom. Boom, like bam. Let's go ahead and change this. Ease, so it kind of eases in like this, and then it explodes like that. Boom. Alright, so let's actually kind of bring it out like this. Just gonna add an ease. So kind of like that. Boom. Boom. Like that. We're also gonna scale it down. So let's just go to like 5. Yeah, right here actually. And then we're gonna scale it all the way down to probably even 50. We'll go with even 50. So then now when it blooms, it shrinks and then fades away. Alright, one last thing. We're just going to bring this down here. One last thing is we're going to make an optical flares. If you don't have this plugin, it's okay, you can skip this part. The plugin is from Video Copilot. We're just going to put optical flares on, and we're going to change this to add, bring it down. We're going to put it above the CC. Just kind of drag to around 4, a little bit before 4. We're going to go to options. We're just going to pick one of the default ones, like this one. It's fine. We're going to change this to the direct center of the comp, 960 by 540. I'm going to make this a keyframe in the center, center position. We're going to go from here and just kind of like bring it out like this to about 6. Alright, 613 is fine. So we're just going to right click. Now we're going to just adjust the brightness. So when you're making, when you want to make something explode, you don't necessarily want to animate the scale in this plugin, because you're going to scale up everything, all the elements. You want to animate the brightness, so the scale of everything stays the same. So we're going to make a keyframe here, press U twice, and we're just going to change this. We're going to change this to 0 to 150, and then back down to 0. We're also going to just make a ease keyframe, velocity 75, and start the bloom probably around here. So like that. So let's just increase it to like 300. Flare. So now it does that effect. Boom. So this is the end of the tutorial, and stay tuned for more tutorials like this. Please like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel and our social media, and let us know if you have any other suggestions on future tutorials. And I hope to see you there. Alright, have a good one.